ASPT 5.2 is all about the different types of elements on the periodic table. And there are only 3 different types of elements. There's metals, there's nonmetals, and metalloids, which we also call semimetals. You need to be able to identify the general location of where these are, and then also be able to describe or identify physical and chemical properties of these different types of elements as well. Now, if we first take a look at metals, if you look at the periodic table, predominantly all to the left and down is your metals. And actually, most of the periodic table is comprised of metals. Now, we do have hydrogen with the exception to the rule, but pretty much to the left, we got metals. Now, metals, properties that you would witness or see in the lab is they're malleable. So when we hit them with a hammer, they're going to bend or they're going to just kind of spread out. They won't be brittle. They won't just kind of shatter. They're also good conductors. In the class that in the lab that we did, they were good conductors of electricity. They're typically gray or silver in color and shiny, so what you would expect a metal to look like. And in the lab, we tested that they were reacting with either hydrochloric acid, which is HCl, or calcium chloride, CaCl2. That doesn't mean that all metals are super reactive, because they're not. We have really reactive alkalis and pretty reactive alkaline earth metals, but all these transition metals in here, they're not very reactive. But if it is a metal, it's going to react with one or both of those things. Now, nonmetals are non-malleable, so they're the exact opposite. They're non-malleable, meaning they're brittle. They're going to shatter. They're not a good conductor, and they can be any color pretty much, besides that grayish or silver. So this could be a red, a yellow, okay, black. We could have other colors. And these do not react at all with hydrochloric acid or calcium chloride. Your nonmetals are found towards the right of the periodic table. There's not many of them, but they're towards the right. Also, hydrogen as well. Hydrogen's over here, not because it's a metal. It's just because it has more in common with the group 1 elements than it does with anything over towards the right. Okay, so because of its atomic structure. So if we have something that has all of these properties, we classify it as a nonmetal. If we went back and had something that has all of these properties, then we classify it as a metal. If we have something that we're seeing that has properties of both, meaning it maybe is conductive but brittle, then we have a metalloid. So metalloids are the stair-step case in between here. I won't make you memorize those elements, but just understanding where it is. On the periodic table, you typically get this line that you know that pretty much those elements straddle that line. Okay, they kind of split across it. And these exhibit both properties. So for the example of silicon, which actually we looked in our lab, silicon is kind of a shiny but blackish, grayish. Okay, so that's more of a metal characteristic, physical characteristic. It is conductive. Okay, not a great conductor, but it is conductive. Again, metal characteristic or property. But the thing that's a non-metal characteristic or property is that it's really brittle. So when you hit it with a hammer, it's going to shatter. Also, silicon is non-reactive with calcium chloride and hydrochloric acid. So it kind of has properties of both. And if that's the case, you know it's got to be a metalloid or a semi-metal, because metals will only have properties of metals. Non-metals will only have properties of non-metals, and metalloids will share properties of both. And it doesn't have to be split down the middle. It could have just one property, but it will have both of those properties. So if we recap this, you need to be able to understand that there are 3 types of elements, and every element can only fit into one of those categories. It's either a metal, a non-metal, or metalloid. And based on their physical and chemical properties, we can use that categorization, that is really hard to say, and we can help categorize where they go. So if I have something that has all metal characteristics, it's got to be a metal. If I have something that has all non-metal properties or characteristics, it's got to be a non-metal. If it kind of has both of them, then we know it's a metalloid. And we should be able then to be able to kind of identify, or the, kind of the location of where we would find that on the periodic table as well. So if you have questions, let me know. This is what you have to be able to do and to apply this knowledge in your 5.2 performance task, which is directly associated with your metals and nonmetals lab. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck. Get after it.